There we go. I'm going to give some what I would say are tips for designing AppStudio apps. I am not a designer, so I'm not going to pretend to be a designer. I'm not going to be able to. I'm not trained in design by any means, but I've built some AppStudio apps and some that look good, maybe some that look better than others. And I've learned some things, and obviously we do work with some designers here at Esri in our apps, and so they've helped me out with a few of these slides. Chun is our lead designer for AppStudio and some of the apps that are built there. I will give her credit for putting together a lot of these slides and this information. She does a great job of building and designing or designing apps. So a few years ago, when AppStudio just started as a product, I wasn't really involved too much in the very beginning. I was early on, but not in the early part of it, not in the early design phase. But the previous product manager for AppStudio and my previous manager, he came to me and wanted me to build an app, our first app that we were going to publish into the app stores with AppStudio, and he wanted my help. And he had an idea. I said, "Hey, Chris, can you build this? Here's the tools, and you can put some stuff together." And I learned a lot from that experience, a lot. And I think the result came out pretty good. And he said something to me when he came in my office, and it stuck with me. He said, with AppStudio, we can teach anyone how to make an app, but we can't teach them good taste. And by that, it means that anyone can make an app, but definitely anyone can make an ugly app. Anyone can make an app that is unappealing. It's cool they can make it, but man, let's also try to teach them ways they can make something that looks nice. Not everyone has good taste. I don't think I have good taste in everything, but not everyone has an eye for this. But maybe some of these tips I'm going to give you today will help you work as a team, work with others, or just give you the resources you need to build apps. The app that I built at that time was this Palm Springs map tour app. This was someone actually had already built the map tour, and I was just going to create an app from it. But we needed a nice image. I'd been to Palm Springs. If you don't know where Palm Springs is, in California, not too far from, about 45 minutes from here, out in the desert. But it's kind of a unique place, has some unique architecture and style to it. And so I, kind of scanned the internet, looked for some different signs, looked for different fonts they might use, and this is what I came up with. So some of you did that Palm Springs. We then turned it into an exercise, which you used on day one. But the Palm Springs was kind of my first app, and it taught me a lot about look for it. Take some time, look at colors, look at fonts. Think about things before you just start going at it. So anyway, that's my experience, my first experience with app design, and I've worked and helped out others since then. Now, why design matters? Why does design matter? What is it? Hey, as long as it works, right? We get this application out there and it's working. That's what matters most. Well, let's think about some of the things why design matters. One is you gain credibility with design if it looks nice, if it makes sense. So here's two different websites. One of the one on the left there is selling cars, and the other one is Amazon selling. They sell everything, except for maybe not cars, but they sell everything. Which are you more likely to buy from? Which, if you open this website on your phone, you said, "Wow, I trust that website. This is a nice. I'm going to scroll around and peruse the different items here. I'm going to buy something from here." I think obviously the Amazon design. It looks professional. It looks well laid out. It makes sense. It doesn't hurt your eyes. So you gain credibility with good design. So think about that. People will want to use your app more if you have good design, if it's appealing, and things like that. It reduces a resource burden. What do we mean by that? Well, if you spend time up front designing your app well, um, it will reduce development costs, development time, maybe the time that you're going to have to rewrite it later and maintain it. Um, so support calls will be less if it's well designed. Training, you won't require as much training, won't require as much documentation. And there's a lot of benefits that go into designing your app well in the beginning and reducing these different resource costs, whether that's time, money, or others. So just that's a big reason why design matters. This slide I love, and I wasn't going to include it, and I just chuckled. I had it improves your user's quality of life. So is the user going to? I think is the user really going to want to use this app? Does it put a smile on their face? Does it, do they get a whatever emotional response from its design? With most GIS apps, we probably aren't thinking about this, but if you, a public app particularly, or just an app you want your user and your organization to use, they, they're, it's if you have good design, it will help them want to use it. So this is the little screenshot there is from Slack. And if you're doing some things, you're up to date, go forth and do great things. It's like a nice little message it gives you at the when you've reviewed some of the messages, the unread messages. And I know I've got a new an app that I use that for managing tasks that I do, a to-do list app. And when you completed all your daily to-do list apps, it gives you like a new, unique little great job. Now you did great today. These little things. Maybe you're not going to put a message like that in your AppStudio app, but I think just making it your app something that people want to install, want to open, want to use. I don't have to use that ugly app again that doesn't that I just don't like using. Just think about those type of things. And you've probably heard of UX and UI. So when designing apps is a big part of it, right? The UX design is what makes it the interface useful, the user experience useful. So if you have good UX design, it's a good app to use. Sorry, it's useful. It provides some functionality. It makes sense. The flow works nicely of the app. UI design is what really makes the interface beautiful. Nice colors, nice icons, images, things that make it beautiful. And then user research allows you to get kind of information and data back from the UI and the UX. Is this app useful? Is it a pleasant experience? Are they enjoying it? How can we make it better? And for good, design, you kind of need a balance of all of these things. The design process, and I would say this is just the design process, is kind of the design and the building an app process. Usually starts up in the top there. You have something strategic you want to accomplish in your company. Maybe identify an app that you like to build, a gap that needs to be filled. You do some research, observe how people want to do their work, do some analysis. We'll talk a little bit about some maybe build some personas of who might be the user for this. From there, you'd move on to doing some UX design, things like wireframes, building out what the user experience would be when they're using this. And it's only then do you start making it pretty. What colors, what icons, how is this going to, what's the visual design of this going to be? And go back. After you do that, you can obviously you can launch your app. You've done some development, you've done some technical testing. Now, in most cases, you're gonna kind of go circular through this for maybe a couple times. That's why you have that beta launch. You'd hit a beta launch, you kind of circle around through again, review things, do a beta launch again, and maybe before you launch to the public. It depends on the scope of your app and how well it's working previously. But You can review these. Obviously, we're giving you the slides. If you didn't see, all these slides are posted in our shared folders there as PDF, so you can review some of these later. So persona, as I said, one of those spots is after you've kind of identified what people, you've maybe interviewed some people that might be using this app, what they want to get out of the app, how it would be useful. Writing up a persona is a common task, and it helps you define what are you designing, what app are you designing, and who are you designing for. So the persona is you give the person a name, some goals they want to accomplish with this, some details about the person, what they do for work, maybe how, what their interests are, how often they use mobile apps, and then we write out this whole narrative and use that to build your apps. Who are we designing this app for? This is important for designers. It's also important for developers to know this as well. So personas, there's a quote here from Alan Cooper: "Design for everyone, and you will delight no one." So the same app that works for a field worker who's got, as you know, we sometimes call them the fat-fingered button worker. I mean, this is someone who they don't want to deal with small, little, beautiful, intricate things. They want to get their job done quickly, and they want big buttons that are gonna that they can tap and work on. That's one persona, that field worker persona. They want to get their job done very quickly, and it just needs to have those big items they need, rather than someone you're creating an app that's going to go to the public, and they want a beautiful app that brings in nice images, that gives them a nice message and feeling. So know who you're designing for. These will help guide different decisions with creating apps, improve your efficiency, prioritize some of the solutions that you're going to work with, resolve conflicts in design choice and development choice, and just basically increase the success of your app and provide some empathy. When you've kind of after creating these personas, and before you really start coding your app, a good idea is to wireframe that app. This is to draw up a very simple on a piece of paper, or actually works the best, or if you have a simple drawing application. But draw up what might this app look like. I'm not going to worry about the colors and the icons and things, but what might it look like? What's the flow of the app from one page to the next? And this can definitely save you a ton of time as you kind of go from, let's go from a very basic sketch of it to maybe we'll use some tools to get a better view of what it might look like for the user. We'll get some of the basic, colors involved before we finish it off with the icons and images that it needs. So wireframing and prototyping are very important. And what's really great about AppStudio, and we've heard this feedback from others, that because of the way you can quickly, the tools we give you to quickly build apps and some of the UI things, and to be able to show it to other people, that it's really good for this, especially that prototyping. It's really good to create prototypes of apps with AppStudio and get buy off from others. Usability testing is also important. So once you kind of get that app working, maybe it's not totally done, but you have a shell of it, do some usability testing. Get some people to use that. Sometimes there's this like guerrilla, they call it guerrilla usability testing. It's like you're literally like going up to someone that or see, say, hey, sit down with them. Hey, here's an app. Let me, why don't you try to do something with it? Can you try this out? And here's a task to accomplish, and just sit and watch them. There's more formal usability testing where you are having someone in a room. You have a very formal script that they're, or not only a script, but a number of tasks that they're going to follow. You're recording it. You're getting their feedback as they talk through things. Both are helpful, and both are valuable. Our design group at Esri does both of these type of usability testing. And you don't need to go do usability testing for 20, 50, 100 people. 5 users plus a few tasks, and observe them, you'll quickly see patterns on what needs to be changed, what they like, and what they don't like. All right, let's talk about map apps, right? We're building, most likely, we're building apps that include a map in them. there's a few different types of apps that are mapping layouts that we might want to include. So I think, yeah, I'm building this app. We're gonna do some data collection. They're gonna open it up and they're gonna see this really beautiful map that we created. Is that really the best thing for the user? Is that really the best thing for the app? So we have you can create an app with a full layout, and this is where the core value or the core piece of that app is the map. So when they open it up, they're going to see that full map, interact with it, zoom around, see the beautiful cartography. If that's what you want to show off, the map viewer template highlights this very, very well. The map is the focus of the app. Another is you might want to, where the map and the data associated with that is kind of has equal value. So you want them to see the map, but just as important, you want them to be able to get data or see the data from that map. And this is the idea of kind of doing this split view layout where you have a partial map, partial data. Again, that screenshot is from our map viewer template because it kind of gives you the option, the view of both the full map or getting a split view. Maybe you just want to create an app where, the map, there's lots of information I'm learning about. I mean, I'm thinking of some website like Yelp, where you're going to, or an app like Yelp, where there's a map in there or there's a list of items. You can switch between that full map, partial map, but often you just want that map as a reference. You want that map just to show, where it is. Maybe you click on it, get more information, but it's just a piece of the overall app. So a reference map is often is a common use of a map. And then what if you're doing a GIS task or doing something like capturing data, but the map they're looking at is not important. They just need to capture data where the point they're standing. Then something like our quick report template is great, where it uses other elements and information and to capture data. And they might see a map at the end or at some point, but really that's not the focus of this. Survey 123 is also another really good example, right? Years ago, we had collector for ArcGIS to capture data, and you opened up a map and you went and zoomed around and you collected data on that map. Survey 123 had a different approach, whereas you were filling out a survey. Yes, you might see a map here and part of it, and yes, you were capturing your location, but really the map is secondary. It's all about the question and capturing that information at a location. Those are different types of map layouts. What at Esri we offer also are a lot of cartography options, and that's what's great about Esri is that we have a lot of think about the cartography that you want to bring into your app. You want colorful maps. Are you put colorful maps with a simple user interface, or do you want a very simple map because you've got some other colors and things you want to highlight? So there's a couple examples, particularly the one on the right there. Hey, the map is there and it's beautiful, but we don't want a whole lot of colors. It'd be distracting. We've got other information we're presenting. Let's use a more subdued map. So just a couple of, if you haven't seen, we have some really cool maps, base maps at Esri. There's this modern antique map, which looks, depending on the style of your app, this could be a cool base map to use. Looks like kind of old world style. Of course, we have things like the World Street Map, very basic. If streets are they need to read streets and streets, street names and get directions, this might be the map that you choose. If you're trying to put, data on top of a map that's going to really stand out, you might want to use one of our this map like Nova or our Grayscale Maps, which allows information to pop. You've probably seen some of the COVID virus maps that have been put out. Well, they're trying to show big red dots in locations and just want to give you a general area, a general part of the world. They're going to use a much more subdued or solid color in their map. So think about the type of base map you're going to use, and of course we've got all sorts of cool, beautiful ones like this National Geographic style. All right, Now, just these last couple slides I put in here, I wanted to talk about some of these are just a couple tools that I use and I've used when kind of creating parts of my AppStudio apps, and some tips. These are maybe Chris LeSueur tips, right? Use simple icons. Don't use complex images as icons. There's great tools out there to build some simple icons. Here's a couple links actually, and these will be in the slides you can click on. The material.io site is great. There's icons you can choose from and use in your own application. So use simple icons, bold colors that someone knows what they're clicking on when they click it. If you're going to have a nice icon for your app, the app they click on to launch your icon, there's some good tools for that. I know there's a launcher icon tool at this website that allows you to build a really nice, simple-looking launcher icon. And then colors. Use good color combinations. We give some default color combinations kind of with our templates, but it's not hard. You don't have to be there's a lot of tools. You don't have to be a design specialist to come up with some of these. You can go and click around on, here's a website called materialpalette.com, which is really cool. It gives you really a lot of information. If you're going to choose a purple and gold, well, if you do that, your text should be this color, and your primary text should be this color on top of the gold. Your other text can be this color, and it gives you just all this information. And you can really, in AppStudio, you can copy these, I call them these hex codes, or these color codes right into the AppStudio UI, and to change the color of your apps when you're building it. So really cool website to give you good color combinations. That's a tip from me. Another big tip is get another opinion. I have a GIS degree. I don't have a design, and I'm not, I don't consider myself an artist in some respects. My wife is, she has a dance degree, and I will often get her opinion on, okay, does this look good? Is this nice looking even? Get someone else in your office. If you have a creative team, a design team, but they're not really involved in building your app, bring them in later on, at least get their opinion. It's just important to get opinions from multiple people on, does this look good? And obviously, is it usable? And then last thing, just leave it, be creative. That you can still follow a lot of these guidelines and still be creative, still build beautiful apps and be creative with your apps. There's lots of options that you can do. We provide numerous templates, but you're not locked into those. You can be creative with your colors, you can be creative with your icons, and we've seen people take one of our templates and change them, and it's hard to tell that it's even the same template because they change them so much and get really creative with them. All right, that's all I have for design. Hopefully that was helpful. It's a little bit different, but I think as you really start building apps and getting going with this will be helpful in building your first app and helping it be a successful app. All right, I don't see too many questions about design. If we have any, let's do. Now we're about almost an hour in. Let's take just a 3-minute break, and we're going to switch over and talk about distributing apps. And that'll be definitely something you'll want to pay attention to, because it's going to, how are you going to distribute your apps? Who are you going to give them to is an important topic. So we'll say just take a 3-minute break here, and then we'll talk about distributing apps. If you have any questions, yeah, go ahead and ask them now.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify a few things from the question that we have on the chat. The AppStudio developer license that you require to do a cloud make, it's only required for people who are actually creating the app. I mean, people who are the developer of the app. Meaning that there was a question, they have a 59 user in their organization. Not all 59 user need to have the developer license of AppStudio. Only one or a couple or a few who are making the AppStudio app needs that AppStudio developer license. The rest of the people who are just simply using or the end user of the app don't need the AppStudio developer license. So just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, good point. Yes, that is just for the developer, right? The person, and that's just the person that's actually doing the build of the app.
Yep.
You could actually have people kind of helping out if you're doing some shared, design or shared even coding of this app. They could be a creator and write code and help out. But that person who's doing the build of the app, there needs to be someone with a paid developer subscription license and a developer edition account.
So I don't want to take up your break time.
Yeah.
But, we have a portal environment and internal users. And we have a development and a production environment for internal portal. And then we typically publish public content to ArcGIS Online that's pointing to our portal services and maps, right?
Okay.
And I'm trying to, there's a distinction, right, between if we're publishing internal user-only apps. And I think, right, that I would develop everything in our dev portal, package it all up, and then somehow, load that to the production portal and then just repoint the content? Or do you have any advice about developing in dev and prod? And then, in the ArcGIS Online world, I'm imagining that, we would develop sort of all of our services content, like we always do, but that we would develop sort of a dev copy, something named development copy in ArcGIS Online, and then kind of do the same thing where we save as and use it as the production copy in ArcGIS Online.
I can probably answer this question,
Yep.
Natalie. So what license you use to log into AppStudio has nothing to do with the content of your app. That is just to log into AppStudio desktop. The content of your app could be pointing to any ArcGIS enterprise.